Hello, welcome back to the Association Experience podcast. Uh, Hello again. We're your hosts, Dr. Dan Nelson, Dr. Jared Hill. We're excited today. A couple things. One, we're coming to you from beautiful Denver, Colorado. We're in town for our Dental Legacy Foundation pickleball tournament fundraiser for the weekend. And also, we're super pumped to be joined today by Jeremiah Ellie and Katharine Martin. And we're going to get into why they're here with us. Let's sneak peek kind of a giveaway on the reason that they're here is that we're calling today's show the Dentist Daily Reset. So energy and focus with Kat and Jeremiah. So if that doesn't give it away, I don't know what will. So I'm going to turn it over to Jared to introduce Kat and Jeremiah, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce some friends of mine, and very excited to have Kat and Jeremiah with us today, and to introduce them as some partners and resources for members of Elevation Association. So Kat and Jeremiah are the founders and co-founders of Elite Wellness Group. And I want to do just a quick introduction. As many of you know, I've talked about several times my health journey in the last couple of years. And I finally get to introduce the key players and coaches in this health and wellness transformation, and that's Kat and Jeremiah. So Jeremiah, as you know, and as you can maybe see if you're watching this, is an IFBB professional athlete, which stands for International Federation of Bodybuilding, right, Jeremiah?
That's right.
Yeah, he is a competitor, and just as far as his experience. He has competed and performed for several years. He represented Team Canada internationally, bringing, mindset, global mindset to the performance. And I'll let him talk more about that experience, but that's fascinating. And his, as far as for his personal experience, Jeremiah, hasn't been doing bodybuilding his entire life. He was a normal person, just like the rest of us for a while, until he decided to become Superman. And,
whatever. All three of you are not normal people. There's only one of us that's a normal person in this entire group.
I don't know. Apparently if you just decide to become a Greek god, you can do that. And that's what Jeremiah has done. He's a bit of a demigod, which I think is your Instagram handle, if I'm not mistaken, Jeremiah. So
yeah, pretty much.
Which is pretty cool. It's awesome. So Jeremiah has been really key in helping me develop my workout program. He has guided me through a really fantastic transformation, both physical and mental transformation on what can be accomplished in this life, and help me find some balance in my life as a working professional and an entrepreneur. And that's what really he specializes in transformational systems for entrepreneurs and executives. And they are he's helped, if I'm not mistaken, helped thousands of people already with this transformation. So we're excited to hear more about him and that aspect of it. And then there's the other half of this component, which is Kat. Kat's a certified functional health practitioner, right? And a certified nutrition coach and personal trainer. So Kat's been the one that's helped me with my nutrition plan and my meal plan. I don't call it my diet plan because it's actually my lifestyle plan, which has been fantastic. So she's put together some really great things for me, and it made it very, very sustainable for me, to the point to where everybody knows what I eat all the time, and they are actually a little bit jealous because it's delicious and it's healthy and it's filling, and it changes my body in a way that I really love. So she is the CEO of wellness, and she's a wellness strategist within the corporation. So, she specializes in metabolic health, hormone optimization for high performers, which is a huge deal and is a really hot topic right now within life and within the industry. She deals with the functional lab testing, the personalized health protocol. So if you want a just kind of some general advice or information, she's fantastic. But if you want a more personalized health plan and protocol, she will put together a rockin' protocol for you. So Kat is also
I think it's worth mentioning too, Jared, that Kat actually trained my wife Lindsay for her very first bodybuilding show. So, and I mean, it was an undertaking, right? Like, it was impressive the program and the thought and the education that has to go into the background work to properly train someone for something on that level. So we have some heavy hitters with this with Kat and Jeremiah.
Thank you.
We absolutely do. So with those introductions, and that's just a quick overview of who you guys are. I want to give you guys a few minutes. Kat, Jeremiah, take a few minutes, share your story, your background, your training, kind of what led you, what got you into the space of health and wellness. Why are you here? And what was your professional journey been? And then as we move on, kind of what you're hoping to bring to other people, like you've helped me transform as well.
Yeah, Jared.
Yeah,
So,
thanks,
Kat
guys.
That was an
Jeremiah.
amazing introduction.
Awesome. So, I'll talk about really where my whole journey started, which was when I was younger. I had some autoimmune health issues, and conventional medicine was just not being able to create a solution for me. And so I was lucky enough that my mom really introduced me to the holistic side, got me working with a naturopath, and we resolved a lot of the health issues that I had been diagnosed with. And so that led me into a really healthy lifestyle through my teenage years, and I played sports. And so I was introduced to gym and weight training at quite a young age. And so I, with a healthy person, I went to college for business, and I still continued to work out 4 to 5 times a week. But, my lifestyle started to catch up to me. I was very social, so I was going out and I was partying a lot. My nutrition was not where it should be at all. I wouldn't say it was even anything close to what I do now. And the stress of just being in school and working full time caught up to me. And so I end up graduating, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm 200 pounds, like I'm very overweight. I have no confidence. I was probably at the lowest point in my life, and I'm in my young 20s when I should be very confident. And so it was at that point where I was looking in the mirror and I was like, I never want to be this version of myself again. I had just started in the fitness industry. I'd gotten my nutrition and personal training certifications. So I wanted to be somebody that was a leader in the industry. And from that day on, within 365 days, so 1 year, I dropped 60 pounds. I had catapulted my career in the fitness industry. And I really dove into personal development. And I just spent that entire year working on myself and my business. And I I tell this story because, I've been there before. When people come to us and they're at their breaking point, I've also experienced that myself. And I feel like that brings such an interesting aspect to coaching, because I know what those thoughts and those emotions, I understand because I've been there before. And I've changed my life ever since. I've never looked back. And I just want other people to understand that they can do the same thing for themselves.
Okay, so Kat, incredible story, background. You've got a ton of history in this, and a lot of experience. Personalized. Like you had to get into it, because you were struggling physically with your health, and the transformation has been really life changing for you. Maybe even life saving. You could say that. Jeremiah, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey started in athletics. I'd say I played almost every sport growing up and thought I was invincible until a devastating knee injury really led to surgery and left me sidelined, which led to me getting out of shape. And in reality, I was ashamed of the person that I saw in the mirror. So this was back in 2012, and the real wake-up call came at my grandfather's funeral, which was in Jamaica. I was listening to people share how he had impacted their lives, and it made me realize that I wasn't living anywhere near my full potential. And so that moment lit a fire under me. After the funeral, I went home, I hired a trainer, and I committed to becoming the best version of myself. What started as a personal comeback grew into a passion for health and fitness, ended up building a career, helping others transform, and ended up pushing myself to the highest levels of bodybuilding, winning 3 national championships, like Jared spoke about earlier, and earning my IFBB Pro card. And so that completely transformed my life. The principles I learned through bodybuilding, I've applied in business in every aspect of my life, discipline, goal setting. And so for me, fitness isn't just about muscle or medals. It's more about legacy, discipline, inspiring others to then step into their full potential. So that's why I love sharing my story, because I know firsthand how powerful it is when you decide to change your life.
Yeah, Jeremiah and Kat you guys worked really well together. I love that story of you're getting your full potential. I think that's what a lot of executives miss. We shoot a lot time. We're very driven. We shoot a lot for these goals, these business goals, these high peaks that we try to achieve, but we often set our own personal health aside. And then I think there's a difference between maybe healthy and maybe optimization of health. And I think that's a huge thing that you guys focus on. It's more about getting the most out of you can out of who you are and becoming the best you are. And so, how do you guys work together? As far as a team, if somebody wants to, if you want to work with an executive, what do you guys do to work together?
Yeah, Jared, I love this question because we do complement each other's skills very well. We have the same values and similar philosophies when approaching with our clients, but my huge focus is on internal health systems. And so I'm really focused on when somebody comes to us, yes, you're looking for a physical transformation, but we're looking at the root cause, like why is your energy so low? Is it your hormones? Is it your lifestyle habits? Like, what can you really optimize to make sure that not only you look good, but you feel good too? We focus on digestion and all the aspects of internal optimization that really actually account for creating a beautiful physique on the inside as well, so that you can show up feeling your best and looking your best. And I'll let Jader talk about, his area of expertise and his specialty and working together.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. I'd say that Kat and I are very much yin and yang, like complete opposites in some way, but still perfectly balanced. So I'm more the visionary, always dreaming up these bold ideas, and she's the one who grounds those ideas and kind of turns them into reality. And so that's how we move from inspiration to execution together. And so, like she was saying about our training, or my training style, we also complement each other in that regard. I'd say my strength is understanding the body's mechanics. I've done thousands of fitness assessments, worked with hundreds of clients, so I can quickly spot imbalances in posture and movement. And then just like pulling from all the courses and programs I took, I can design like a training program that'll not only sculpt physiques, but then restore function and also eliminate joint pain. And so we kind of work together in that regard, where she works on the inside and I kind of work on the outside.
So why specifically decide to work, or why decide to work specifically for dental and medical professionals? Where's the interest there?
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of like just alignment. We work with a lot of professionals, but Kat and I were talking one night and we are like, why are we seeing so much success when we work with people in the dental field? And like the wheels just started turning. And I think it's just really alignment. Like the way, maybe it's just all the education you guys have, the way you think outside the box, the fact that you're also you focus on perfection and typically very success oriented in your practice in your field. We are able to like hone that skill set and the foundation that you guys already have, and really get the most out of our own understanding of the body and get amazing results for the clients that we've worked with previously. And so, those conversations led us to kind of double down. And, we want to be able to provide the most impact. And we saw that that was an area that we were getting incredible results and serious impact.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a dichotomy that exists within a dentist's life, and it's the fact that I do agree with you 100%, Jeremiah, that dentists have these attributes, these psychological, these mental attributes that create an incredible amount of drive. But there's also, we talk about it all the time on this show, a bandwidth issue. And sadly, we have seen that while all of the professional acumen gets built up, the physical side of things goes to the wayside. And we see a lot of docs as they get into the profession, putting on weight. The way that we sit all day, the ergonomics that we operate out of are pretty unhealthy for your back and your neck. The things that we often are, stuck in this position for hours on end, depending on what we're doing. There's some special physical needs that I think you guys get, right? And in the conversations we've had before this, you guys understand, you guys can appreciate. But what the irony of that is oftentimes it's a slow journey into that field of being unhealthy, right? To being physically unhealthy. So the practice might be thriving. Maybe they're doing great, financially successful on the practice front, but at home, and this goes back to Jared's story. We've told Jared's journey, where he was feeling unsatisfied, with himself and wanted to really hone in, and focus on his making himself a priority, making his health a priority, because he realized, oh my gosh, like, this is detrimental in the long run. And we know, after he's been sharing his story, how many other docs are falling into that world. So this is like, it's interesting, right? That dichotomy that exists, because you have the right mentality. Dentists have the right mentality, but they often, the irony there isn't lost on me, but they often just let their physical health go to the wastebasket.
Yeah, I think part of this too, Dan, is we talk about, to go along exactly with what Dan was saying, is, a lot of dentists get into this pattern where you're isolated. You're kind of by yourself, and you feel so isolated, you're not sure where to find all the answers, and so you then move into this frustration mode where you're frustrated with business, you're frustrated with yourself, you're frustrated with your health, you're frustrated, but you're not quite sure where to find the resources to get out of that frustration. So you live in this period of frustration, which, as you know, leads to inflammation, leads to poor health, poor mental health, physical health. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this burnout phase. And that's where a lot of dentists get into trouble. That's why they only stay in their profession for 10, 15 years, because they burn out, and then they sell out at a fraction of what their practice is worth. And so what we're trying to do at Elevation Association is trying to provide the resources so dentists can find these professionals who have worked with dentists, dental hygienists, these high level professionals, and have helped them do a complete 180. Get out of that cycle of isolation, frustration, burnout. Hey, let's solve this aspect, because, like Dan was saying, there's so many unique stressors on us. Just the not only like the posture challenges, but like your mental load, your decision fatigue. And all of that is compounded on how difficult that is when you don't feel very good personally, when your health isn't good, when you're overweight, when you struggle with that. Now that's just compounds all of these decisions and makes them weightier. So, I think one thing that you guys have had some pretty successful clients, within the profession. I know that I've talked about you guys all the time. You guys have helped me a ton, and I've referred people to you guys, and and I was referred to you by a dental hygienist as well. And so, you guys have experience in the industry, right? So what have you guys seen as far as, maybe some personal experiences within some client success stories, maybe?
Yeah, I can go first unless you want to cut.
Go ahead first.
Sure. I mean, I love telling Jared's story, but I know y'all have heard it already. So, one of the other favorite client success stories I've had with the dentist, when we started working, a little over a year ago, and he came in with some big goals, but really starting at ground zero. So what we did was we did his blood work, and his testosterone was around 150 in the low 100s, and he was on TRT. So just to put that in perspective, that's dangerously low. So about a quarter of where it should actually be. On top of that, he was dealing with anxiety and depression, which I know unfortunately is common in this profession. So we took time to understand his mindset, his drivers, and his why. And so together, Kat and I built out a clear plan, nutrition, supplementation, and we focused on rebalancing his hormones, plus, of course, a strength program, which was built around building muscle, burning fat, restoring function. We even corrected issues with his posture. He had a wing scapula and some mild scoliosis. So what we did was create a program that would help stretch those muscles that were really tight, strengthen the muscles that were weak, and kind of correct his posture. And so fast forward, his sleep improved, his energy skyrocketed, and working with his physician, he actually was able to get off prescription medication for anxiety and depression, which we were really excited about. And most importantly, his testosterone level rose from the low 100s to the high 600s, a complete turnaround. And you could just see it in his physique, his energy, his confidence. It was incredible. And, every time I tell a story, it's motivational and inspiring for myself, even just the way he worked so hard and was so diligent and was able to reclaim his health.
Yeah, is this? I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I was like, I think,
I know it's
this
supposed to be
guy, right,
anonymous, but
No, you keep it anonymous. But the coolest part about this was he's a friend of mine. He would send me his progress pictures, and I remember seeing his back picture from when he started to when he ended. I was shocked. I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is just from the strength and the training and whatever you guys did. I don't know what it was, but it was a shocking turnaround, which was so cool." And he was so, I mean, he was over the moon thrilled with what you guys did for him. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even talking about this individual, it was consistent. Like it wasn't a, 6-month turnaround time where all these things happened. Is we had to focus on the basics first, the foundation. And, I think he came into this experience not knowing, how much or how long it was going to take. But by, that 4-month mark, he like started to really get momentum and get going, and we're like, okay, now we're starting to get things moving along. And sometimes it takes that long. You just have to be consistent, you have to be diligent, and he was motivated to, no matter, some weeks were good weeks, other weeks were not so great, but he just kept going. And that was, such a key aspect to his success. Is he's just like, I'm not going to stop. Like, I had a bad week, I'm going to pick myself up and we're just going to keep going. And Jer was such a motivational person in his life, and it was just incredible to see the shift of this individual.
Very cool. I think that brings up a really good part that I want to talk about too, is expectations. Because I think I think we all see the Instagram change where we think that happens in 30 days or 60 days, right? Matter of fact, I remember, I'm sure you guys remember when I first approached you, it was the end of September, and we were going to start October 1, and I thought, oh, hey, maybe I can do a show by January, right? I thought 3 months, I can do anything for 3 months. And I remember you guys were great. You didn't shut me down. You didn't be like, there's no way, right? Though I'm sure in your mind you were thinking there's no way, but you didn't say that, right? You thought let's get going, let's progress, and it took a while for me to realize, okay, this is actually a journey, and what I found too, and maybe you guys could talk about the expectations of what you typically see, but what I found is, like, I'm still in the journey. I'm 2 years later, and I'm still in the journey, and I love the journey. Right? It was never for me. I should say, I thought it was going to be the destination, but it wasn't. I got to the destination and I wanted to continue the journey because of the health and mental transformation that one can go through, and that I didn't want that to stop. Right? I didn't want to go back and revert to what it was. I wanted to continue to progress. So maybe you guys can talk about that for a second. What are the typical expectations? What do you guys see? Obviously, everybody comes to you in all sorts of different forms of physical and mental health. What do you guys typically see in that sense?
Yeah,
yeah, so
go ahead, take it away.
Ladies first.
So, we work with individuals. Not everyone comes to us square one. I worked with this individual in the dentist industry specifically, and she came in and she was like, "Hey, I'm just bored of the gym. Like, I feel like I'm just plateauing. Like, I'm not making any changes. I'm not really excited about working out anymore. And that's, different for me." And so she came with a good foundation, a pretty healthy lifestyle. And for her, the biggest shift was her mindset of like understanding the journey and the process of what it's going to take. And that was the most important part of coaching for her, was being able to walk her through those steps. And so she came in, and we see this a lot as like the expectations of people coming in, and they think that it's going to be a 3 or 6 month timeline, or they just expect that their body is going to respond right away. And we're we shouldn't have expectations, but everyone does when they start something new. And so it's our job as coaches to really walk them through what this process will look like, but also remind them that, things may change along the way, and that you just have to be patient with yourself. You have to be consistent, and you just have to keep going. And we will adjust and retarget as necessary when, the timeline may adjust.
Yeah. And to kind of add to that, there's no unrealistic goals. There's just unrealistic timelines. So in reality, we should have a timeline of when we want to get to where we want to be. But especially when it comes to fitness, life happens. And so you have to be willing to pivot and really just not be so focused on getting to your goal, but the process of getting there. Fall in love with it, doing the work, being disciplined, being consistent overall. And then I think like a big thing that I've learned through this process is like we can set a goal and we're going to attain that goal eventually. But what I think you also learned, Jared, is that that goal is not necessarily the finish line. It's important that when we do attain that goal, that we have another thing that we're working from, because that is so climactic. There's going to be some fall off. So there's going to need to be something that we continue to work towards and build towards so we can be consistent over the long term and maintain the progress that we've gotten.
Can you guys speak? This is awesome. This is real world, application, real world stuff. Can you guys speak a little bit to the mind body connection? We have to maintain an incredible level of mental acuity throughout the day, throughout the week. Can you guys speak to that a little bit and kind of address that?
Yeah, I love speaking on this topic, especially just even, the theme of today in the morning routine. When we work with individuals in the dentist industry, we understand that most of the time you're dealing with a lot of responsibility. Are seeing patients for quite a few hours of the day, but you also have your clinic that the practice that you have to run. So you have to be a leader within that capacity too. And then most of the time you're going home and you're a leader within your family, and you have to be able to show up. And so basically you're on all day. And if you don't start your day with some intentional time for yourself and connecting to your why, connecting to your purpose, creating blood flow and just getting the endorphins going, then you're going to realize that you get caught up in the day to day, and you're not present, and you're not aware of, when you're making a decision, your why. And that's really, I would say the biggest thing about mind body is just being present. And if you don't create an environment for that, you get lost in it. And that's where stress piles on top.
You know, to build on that, and Kat, you could probably talk about this much more than I can. But a lot of the times when people are having issues, mental health issues, whether it's something like confidence or anxiety or depression or whatever, like there's often a catalyst for that that's internal, right? It starts off on a hormonal level. It starts off with the imbalances in their body that then compounds and it shows up in their thoughts and their lifestyle and the choices they make and how they feel about themselves and their life as a whole. So I think like a lot of those issues, they become less significant or less detrimental when we really focus on healing our body and allowing it to function in kind of a flow state. Then our mind becomes sharper, we're less brain fog, we're more disciplined. We're able to think more critically and really think about how we can grow and become better in all aspects of our life.
Yeah, I think this is a topic that we probably ought to do a whole separate podcast on, just because I mean there really is the mind body connection is so big, and and the other thing that we found, we listen to a lot of other podcasts, and not just dental, but just in general. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and every freaking Tom, Dick, and Harry that goes to the gym and is able to put muscle on, all of a sudden gets in front of the camera and starts popping off on like fitness and diet and all sorts of like hormones and you guys could speak to it way better than we can, but so much bad information. It's the same in the dental world, right? Like there's for every bit of good information that goes out, there's at least two or three, parts of bad information that go out. It's because it's an unfiltered market where no one really checks to see if the information is correct or not. And so that would be awesome to do another podcast just on that. So you guys could talk about, the chemicals, the hormones, the effects of, excess weight, that kind of stuff. So that'd be awesome just to kind of continue this part of the conversation going. But I digress. We'll continue. We'll move forward for now, and discuss. What I would like to hear is what is a couple of things that just shooting from the hip that, and I'm not talking about like specific, like, oh, go do this stretch, but maybe stretching, or what are some like what's some low hanging fruit, some low barrier to entry that someone's that's really struggling. I mean, obviously step one is to contact somebody like you guys or contact you guys directly. But what are some other things that someone could be doing that's feeling like what you guys are talking about? They're feeling stuck. They're maybe feeling lethargic, maybe feeling, depressed, all those things.
Um, I think for me, one of the things that I think where this all starts, it's like one of those habits that have a huge impact on everything is really setting a clear goal, like a health goal. Like before we say, okay, I want to get better, just become clear about what you need. Like, how do you want to change? How do you see yourself in the future? Personally, I would say you want to write that down and kind of keep that with you. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve those things. So ultimately, I think that's where it starts. And then when you have a goal that you don't know how to accomplish on your own, then that's where I would say you need to find help. And for me, even myself, that was like the game changer for me when I hired my first personal trainer. That completely changed my life, because if you don't have access to new information, then you can't change your current thought process, right? We need new information. We need new ideas for us to improve. And so that would be my advice. Become clear about where you are and where you want to be, and then get help.
Yeah, that's great. Even touching on, even prior, like if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, I for a while been at that point where I want to make some change in some aspect of my life, but I just don't really know where to start, is truly creating intentional time for yourself. So the way that you prepare and plan for your business, you should be doing that for yourself for the week. So setting time up for yourself on Sunday, taking 30 to 60 minutes and, scheduling out those individual blocks on whether you're going to go to the gym or whether you're going to work on your mindset. And those intentional times need to have boundaries that you don't allow anybody to cross, because um, first, if you want to start into your fitness journey and, your goal is to change your entire physique, before you even do that, you need to know how to put yourself first. And I understand, when you first get started in something, there's like that motivational window where you're really excited. And of course, you're going to make time. But it's ultimately about the foundation of the habit in your mind of like, once that motivation goes away, are you able to still set time aside for yourself because you understand that it's something that's really important for your evolution as an individual and making yourself a better businessman or businesswoman, making yourself a better family member. So truly it starts up here, and just making sure that you're time blocking for yourself the way that you would in your business.
I freaking love that, because the principles apply across the board, right? Whether it's you personally or you on your practice. And sadly, you know, there's a lot of docs that are just acted upon, and what they become sedentary to the point in their business and in their personal life that they're just acted upon. And so that they just allow things to occur. They just allow them to happen to them. If it's good, great. If it's bad, well, that sucks, you know. And you can see that, you know, we see it on the business front where there's no real intentional action, right? There's no, like Jeremiah said, there's no vision, there's no actual goal in mind. And there's, like you're saying, Kat, there's no plan in place. There's no driver to get through stuff. And sadly, like a lot of times they correlate, you know, it's the mentality, I think, of, you know, and the reason for it can be, you know, there's just so many reasons that can cause this, but the effect is brutal, right? And it can take over their lives and get to the point where they resent their job. Maybe they resent their home life. They resent themselves, which is awful, right? And so, yeah, these are super poignant points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just want
sorry, I
to
was gonna
add
say,
one point.
go ahead, Kat.
So, you know, it's interesting that you say that, Dan, because the individuals that we work with are usually between the age of 35, 55. They're established in their career. But the reason that we work with those individuals is because they've spent such an accumulation of years in school, getting their career started, putting everything into the career, not focusing on stress management, not putting themselves first. Then they start a family, and that snowballs into now having added responsibilities, added stress of just being the leader in your home and making sure that they're financially taken care of. And then you get to a point where you reach your 40s, late 40s, and you're like, what happened? Where did I go wrong? And, you know, you can't expect to undo 20 years of lack of putting yourself first or not putting your health first in 30 or 60 days. It's going to take time to unravel those, not just the physical aspects, but also those mental stories that you've been telling yourself for, you know, so many decades.
Yeah, you know, along these lines, the one thing that I think that that you guys helped me with on my journey is to have the vision. Help me set the vision or see the vision of what was possible for me in my journey. You know, and then once I had that, write it down. Like we picked a date for us for me as a bodybuilding show. I think for most people it won't be, but whatever that is, like Jeremiah was saying, write it down, right? Get serious about it, document it. You have to see the value in that process. And then not only you have to write that down, but you have to have this circle of accountability that holds you accountable to that. Like if you think that you can pull this off by yourself, then your vision's too small. Like it's not, you need to have people say, no, you should do this or do that, right? We have to have this moment where we can really let go of what we were and what we thought we were, what we thought we wanted to be. And we need to step into really what is, right? Where we are, what we're doing, and be real. And the only way to do that is to have this accountability partner and say, hey, yes, here is my weekly photo. Here's my weekly update. I actually have to step on the scale, show, you know, and you have to have that person to hold you accountable to really see the progress. Because, you know, as you become, you know, not just what you do, but what you seek, you know, your destiny really will it'll start to chase you down, right? It'll catch up to you, and you create this momentum that is really hard to deny and to slow down at that point in time. But you know, it's starting the process is what it is.
Yeah, and I think you can compare it to rappelling, right? The first step is always the scariest.
Scary.
Right. And you have to go through this period of discomfort and get over that, like find the new norm, and finding the new norm always puts you into a growth phase and a learning phase and in a change. And people hate change, even though they want change. Like, oh, I want to change this. I want to change this. And for you guys know it well on the personal front. We know it really well on the professional front. We're like, okay, this is what you're going to have to do. And they're like, well, that's a lot of change. I don't know if I want to deal with that kind of change to get change, you know? And it's funny because it's like, I want to change. And we say, okay, we're going to do these things to change. They're like, okay, this is too much change. I can't do change. And so it's this funny trap that the mind sticks us into, that it's very difficult to get out. And so I think that understanding that, yeah, that first step is like rappelling. It's scary. You're going to have to go over the edge, but know that there's a team there that's got the rope. We got you, you know, we're not going to let you fall. We've tested everything. Yes, it's scary, but you're going to make it. And then it's before you know it, you're down this, you know, this path, and you're finding that, oh my gosh, I can do it. I do have the capacity. And now there's a new norm. Jared and I talk all the time about how dentists live in this. Our heads are in the cloud a lot because we are expected to perform at such a high level early on in our lives, starting with college. And you start to surround yourself with people that are very, very intelligent, very, very driven. And that becomes your new norm. And then you get into dental school, and it's even more so. And then you get into the profession, it's even more so. And before you know it, you're in this, your new norm is that it's such a high level and a high capacity, but it also takes a lot of energy. And I think that goes back to that thought that you had earlier on, Jeremiah, about dentist capacity and abilities. But it's your guys' job, and what you guys are really good in is tapping into that psychology and that mental acuity, and being able to say, okay, now let's apply that to you physically and mentally, right?
Yeah, you know, I would say like the average person, they want a six pack, but they don't want to do the work. They don't want to have to sacrifice, you know, the on the weekend, or like, you know, the fast food when it's easier. They don't want to wake up early, go to the gym. But like, I think that's the cool thing about working with high performers. Like, they want the six pack, but they're so used to the hard work, the necessary work to get, you know, their business up and running, and
Totally.
like to even get in that position in the first place. So it's so much easier for us to have a conversation about like, okay, this is what you want. This is what's required. Let's fall in love with the grunt work, the hard stuff, because this is the only way to get to where you want to be. And I think like that was the biggest thing, where we're like, okay, these are the people that we can be of the most service to. So like, kind of like, our whole job and our goal in this is to be of service to as many people as possible, right? There's people that I can lay out the perfect blueprint, but then when they see it, they're like, this is going to be challenging. But like once you get into it, it's not really that hard. It's just the mindset of being able to say, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what.
Yeah, even to touch on that, one of the biggest things is like, you know, Dan, you're talking about how you're met with change and you're like, whoa, this is a lot of change at once. You're like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But it's also understanding that you have that resistance to change, and that wall of resistance. How long can you keep going against it to the point where you just are able to surrender to that process? And those are the people that we see the most success with, is like they'll keep running into the wall of resistance and they're like, this is terrible. And then eventually they're just like, okay, I'm going to surrender to the process. And all of a sudden everything becomes so much easier. And that just applies to life itself. And it's so amazing when you get to that point as a coach and you watch the individuals and you're like, yes, like they finally get it. But, you know, our job is to keep motivating them, keep pushing them when that wall of resistance is there.
Oh my gosh, Kat, that is the sweetest sounding bit of advice and insight that I've heard in so long, because people are resistant to change and refuse to admit that they're resistant to change, and then are frustrated with the outcome. You know, and it's, you know, it's that old quote that Einstein said that, you know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? And so I freaking love that so, so much, because we've all fallen in that trap of like, you know, they want the magic bullet, the magic pill. We all want something to just make it better right now. You know, the Ozempic, give me the Ozempic. Never mind, I might go blind, but just go ahead and give me the Ozempic. I don't want to do the actual real, and I don't mean to offend anybody that's doing Ozempic, because it does have, again, let me get us out of this hole I just brought us into. But I love that bit of advice, and I love that you have that insight of like, look, let us help you recognize that you're resistant to what's happening, and overcoming that is huge. And but it's scary, right? It's so freaking scary.
Yeah. Honestly, like I experienced just something this summer that it was like an external factor. It was out of my control. And, it took me a good couple weeks and I was like, oh, this is like terrible. How do I get out of this? And then finally I was like, is it really that bad? Like, is it really that bad? Or do I just need to change my mindset towards it? And, you get tired of the fatigue of the resistance, and once you surrender to it, you're like, wow, this was a lot easier than fighting it essentially.
Yeah. Oh man, we've gotten so many pearls during this podcast, and it's been incredible. I want to be able to just recap the stuff that we've talked about. Jeremiah and Kat are these really incredibly accomplished and incredible coaches and guides, really on your health journey. We are super excited to be able to have them as a resource for our Elevation Association clients. They are ready and anxious to work with, more dentists, spouses, dental hygienists, any of those, anyone who you think may need some help with them. And we'd invite all of our listeners to connect with them. By the time this podcast airs, we will have them on our school, our online community, EA School, SKOOL. You can go on there. We are currently building a library of resources that they have that they will be able to offer. You can have some stuff, you can find some stuff on school, and then you'll be able to contact them directly for a more personalized plan or change program that you might be interested in. Or maybe if you just want to talk to them and ask them some questions, they'd be happy to answer and respond to those. We invite you also to connect with them on their Instagram page. It's Kat or Jeremiah, what is your Instagram page? It's is it Elite? What is it? I can't remember.
You're
Oh,
muted.
Okay, there we go. You're on.
it's a growing Instagram page, so we welcome you to start with our journey on social media, but it's Elite Wellness GRP _.
Cool. Awesome. And this is the first of many podcasts and webinars. Jeremiah and Kat will be on school, be able to answer any questions as well. So they'll be contributing to the community. And if you just want to, throw out a quick question or whatever, they'd be happy to answer. And then I think we will hear from them at least once a month on either a webinar or a podcast or something along those lines, because we really feel like that this is, we focus on life, leadership, and legacy. And as far as your life plan goes, this is a major resource to help you, develop your life plan or work on your life plan. And we're excited to continue to bring those resources to our members. So thank you, Jeremiah and Kat. We appreciate your time today. I know we went over, but we appreciate all the value that you guys bring, and are looking forward to future collaboration sessions and events.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.